This audiobook shows you the path to freedom. Using Allen Carr's powerful Easyway method, you'll uncover why emotional eating is not a source of comfort, but a trap, and why willpower alone is never the solution. Here you'll learn to break free from cravings, reprogram your mindset, and rediscover the joy of eating for nourishment, not escape. You won't be giving up anything, you'll be gaining confidence, energy, and a brighter, freer life. Today, your journey to true freedom begins. Do you ever find yourself standing in the kitchen, not because you're hungry, but because something inside you feels heavy? Maybe you've had a hard day at work. Maybe you feel lonely, stressed, or just restless, and before you even realize it, your hand reaches for the cookies, the chips, or the ice cream. Not for fuel, but for comfort. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Millions of people quietly fight this battle every day. It's not about a lack of discipline, and it's not that you're weak. It's about a pattern, an invisible cage that slowly wraps itself around you until food no longer serves you, but controls you. Now imagine something different. Imagine standing in that same kitchen, but instead of being pulled toward junk food, you feel calm, free, and in control. Imagine food no longer calling the shots. Imagine finally understanding the truth, that you don't need to fight cravings with willpower, because the cravings themselves no longer exist. That is what Allen Carr's Easyway offers, and today I want to guide you through this powerful method, not as a dry summary but as a living journey. A journey of breaking illusions, reclaiming your freedom, and stepping into a healthier, brighter future. But before we go deeper, let's pause for something important. If you suspect you're struggling with an eating disorder such as anorexia or bulimia, this isn't the place to start. Please seek out a medical professional or licensed therapist. You deserve care that meets you where you are. For everyone else, let's begin. Emotional eating feels like comfort, but it's really a cage. Picture it. You feel stressed, so you eat. You feel lonely, so you eat. You feel bored, so you eat. For a few moments there's relief, but soon enough, the stress, the loneliness, the boredom, they all come rushing back. And this time, they're heavier because now they're joined by guilt, shame, and regret. It's like running on a treadmill that never stops. You chase relief, but the relief never lasts, and every lap you run just leaves you more exhausted. This is why so many people think willpower is the answer. They say to themselves, I'll just stop, I'll resist, and maybe they do for a day, a week, even a year. But eventually the cravings crash down like a wave, and when that wave hits, it sweeps away everything they've built. Why? Because the problem isn't self-control. The problem is the belief system you've been carrying all your life. Since childhood, you've been programmed to see junk food as joy, as reward, as comfort. Candy was given when you behaved. Cake was served when you celebrated. Ice cream was handed over when you cried. You've been trained to equate food with feelings. So, when someone tells you to quit, your mind screams back. You're taking away my comfort, my happiness, my pleasure. But here's the secret. None of that is real. It's an illusion. Junk food never gave you happiness. It only gave you relief from the cravings it created. Just like a smoker believes the cigarette calms them, when in reality, it only removes the discomfort of nicotine withdrawal. Let's take a moment to see this clearly. Imagine Nick. Nick swore off cakes, chocolate, and candy for an entire year. He thought he had won. He avoided temptation with sheer willpower, but all year the cravings never left. They whispered in his ear every day, waiting for him to slip, and on New Year's Eve, he finally did. And in that one moment, he felt like everything he had fought for was wasted. Nick's story is important, because it shows us the truth. You can remove the habit, but if you don't remove the craving, you're still trapped. It's like locking yourself in a room and throwing away the key while the monster you're afraid of is still in there with you. Willpower might help you survive a little longer, but it won't set you free. So, what's the way out? The way out isn't more fighting. It isn't more self-denial. It's not about tightening the cage. It's about breaking it open. It's about dismantling the illusions that food has power over you. Once you see clearly that the pleasure was never real, once you see that you're not losing anything by quitting, the craving itself disappears. And when the craving disappears, freedom begins. That's what Allen Carr teaches. Freedom, not deprivation. Liberation, not restriction. When you let go of the illusion, you don't feel like you're giving something up. You feel like you've been released from prison. Now, think back to the first time someone tried a cigarette. Did they actually enjoy it? Most don't. It burns their throat, makes them cough, makes them dizzy. But with time, the brain convinces itself, this feels good, this is relaxing. Soon, the cigarette becomes the escape from stress. But here's the lie. The cigarette is what created the stress in the first place. The pleasure is nothing more than relief from the pain of addiction. The same is true with emotional eating. That pint of ice cream after a long day. It's not happiness. It's not love. It's just a temporary numbing of the discomfort that the cycle itself created. The more you eat for relief, the more your brain believes you need food to cope. And so the cycle deepens, the cage tightens, and freedom feels further and further away. But what happens when you step back and see the illusion? Suddenly, the power of food begins to crumble. Suddenly, you realize that life before the addiction was lighter, freer, more joyful, and that's the truth waiting for you on the other side of this journey. Now let's pause and ask something powerful. What are you really afraid of when you think about giving up emotional eating? For many, it isn't hunger. Hunger is natural, and the body knows how to handle it. The real fear is this. Who will I be without my comfort food? What will I reach for when stress hits, when loneliness creeps in, when the day feels too heavy? That fear is what keeps millions locked inside the cage. Because deep down, they believe food is their friend. They believe cake celebrates with them, chips keep them company, and ice cream wipes away their tears. But the truth, that friend is the one who made you cry in the first place. That friend is the one who kept you lonely, who stole your energy, who whispered lies about comfort while leaving you more broken afterward. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how you feel after emotional eating? Maybe 5 minutes of distraction, yes. But what comes after? Regret, guilt, bloated, tired, disappointed in yourself. That's not a friend, that's a thief. This is why Allen Carr's approach is so revolutionary. He doesn't tell you to fight harder. He doesn't ask you to deny yourself forever. Instead, he invites you to change how you see food itself. Once you truly see junk food for what it is, empty, manipulative, addictive, it loses its magic. It stops calling your name. And that's when freedom begins. Let me share a story. A woman I once coached told me she couldn't imagine life without her nightly chocolate bar. It was her reward after a long day. She swore it was the one small pleasure that got her through, but when we unpacked it, something stunning happened. She realized the chocolate wasn't her reward, it was her chain. She felt heavy, tired, and restless each morning because of it. The very thing she thought was giving her joy was actually stealing her joy. When that illusion shattered, she no longer felt deprived without it. She felt free. This is the shift you must embrace. You're not giving up pleasure, you're giving up the illusion of pleasure. You're not losing comfort. You're letting go of the very trap that created your discomfort. And here's where it gets even deeper. Addiction doesn't just create a cycle of craving, it creates a war inside your own mind. You've probably felt it. One voice says, "Don't eat it, stay strong." The other voice says, "Just one bite, you deserve it." Back and forth, like two enemies fighting inside your head. That battle drains you. It steals your energy for the things that truly matter. Your family, your goals, your dreams. But imagine this. What if there was no battle? What if one of those voices simply disappeared? What if the cravings no longer showed up to fight you? That's what Allen Carr promises. That's what freedom looks like. Let's go back to Nick's story. The man who resisted sweets for a year. Think about how exhausting that year must have been. Every party, every holiday, every craving. He was fighting. Imagine how much mental energy that stole from him. Energy he could have poured into his career, his relationships, his passions. Instead, he was stuck in an inner war, and when he finally gave in, he felt crushed. Not because of one bite of candy, but because he realized the craving had never left. He had been white-knuckling, not transforming. This is why willpower alone will never work long-term. It's like holding your breath underwater. You can do it for a while, but eventually you'll come up gasping. True change isn't about holding your breath. It's about walking out of the water entirely. So let me ask you, are you ready to walk out of the water? Are you ready to stop fighting with yourself and start freeing yourself? Here's how we do it. First, we dismantle the illusion of pleasure. Second, we reframe what food means in your life. And third, we reconnect you with real hunger and real satisfaction, two things emotional eating has robbed you of. Let's start with illusion. Remember cigarettes? Smokers believe the cigarette calms them, but the truth is, it only relieves the tension caused by nicotine withdrawal. Emotional eating is the same. The ice cream doesn't soothe your stress. It only distracts you from the stress it created in the first place. Next is reframing food. Food is not therapy. Food is not a reward. Food is fuel. It's nourishment. It's energy to build, to create, to live. When you start seeing food as fuel, you naturally gravitate toward the foods that energize you. Fresh fruits, vibrant vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, and here's the surprising thing, they actually taste better when your palate is no longer hijacked by sugar, salt, and fat. And finally, reconnecting with hunger. Many people have no idea what true hunger even feels like anymore. They eat because the clock says lunchtime. They eat because they're bored. They eat because food is near. But when was the last time you ate because your body truly asked for fuel? Think of hunger like the fuel gauge on your car. If one is empty and 20 is stuffed, most people start eating at 12, 13, sometimes even 15. They never let themselves get to a 7 or 8, true healthy hunger, and they don't stop until they hit 18 or 19, far past satisfaction. But when you start listening, when you eat only when your body says, "I need this," and stop when your body says, "I'm fueled," everything changes. You realize you don't need as much food as you thought. You realize whole foods satisfy more deeply than junk ever could. And you discover the incredible lightness of being fueled, but not stuffed. This is where life opens up. Imagine waking up with energy instead of regret. Imagine spending time with loved ones without food being the center of your thoughts. Imagine chasing your dreams with clarity because your brain isn't fogged with sugar crashes and guilt. That is the life waiting for you. And you hold the key. Not tomorrow, not someday, today. Now let's face an uncomfortable truth together. Food has become more than food. In our culture, It has become entertainment. It has become reward. It has become medicine for every uncomfortable feeling we don't want to face. Think about it. We celebrate birthdays with cake. We comfort heartbreak with ice cream. We reward hard work with pizza or drinks. Food has been elevated to the role of therapist, friend, entertainer, all rolled into one. But food was never meant to carry that weight. It cannot fix loneliness. It cannot heal stress. It cannot replace joy. When we give food these roles, we hand it a power it was never designed to hold. And when food fails us, we blame ourselves. We feel guilty. We feel weak. We tell ourselves we lack discipline. But the truth is this: the system is broken, not you. This is where Allen Carr's method shines. Instead of beating yourself up, it invites you to see through the illusion, to step back and recognize the programming that's been done to you since childhood. Think about those birthday cakes again. From a young age, we're taught sugar equals happiness. Sweets equal love. Junk food equals celebration. That conditioning gets locked deep into our subconscious. So when we feel sad or stressed as adults, our brain remembers that old pairing. If I eat something sweet, I'll feel better. But here's the catch. The childhood association is a lie. The candy never gave you happiness. It was the people, the laughter, the moment of celebration that gave you happiness. The candy was just a prop. The real joy was never in the sugar. It was in the connection. Let's take a real example. A man once told me he couldn't give up donuts because they reminded him of Saturdays with his grandfather. Every weekend as a child, they'd go to the local bakery, grab donuts, and sit in the park. He thought the donuts were what made those moments special. But when we looked closer, he realized it wasn't the donuts. It was his grandfather's stories, his laughter, his presence. That's what he missed. The donuts were just background noise, and when that realization sank in, he didn't crave donuts anymore, because he saw the truth. The love and connection were never in the food. They were in the people. They were in the memories. Now let's go deeper. Why do we really emotionally eat? Because we're trying to escape. Escape stress. Escape sadness. Escape boredom. Escape ourselves. But here's the paradox. Emotional eating never actually escapes those feelings. It only postpones them. In fact, it often magnifies them. Stress plus overeating equals more stress. Sadness plus binging equals sadness plus guilt. Boredom plus snacking equals boredom plus regret. So the question is, why keep running into a wall that only leaves you bruised? Allen Carr offers a radical alternative. Stop running. Stop trying to escape. See the craving for what it is. A trap. Once you recognize it, once you call it out, it loses its grip. Let me give you an image. Imagine standing in a cage and the door is wide open. For years you've believed you were locked inside. You've rattled the bars. You've begged for freedom. You've blamed yourself for being weak. But in truth, the door was never locked. You just never tried walking through it. That is emotional eating. The cage is an illusion. The lock is a lie. Freedom is one step away. If you're willing to see clearly. Now let's tackle one of the biggest fears people face. What if I quit emotional eating and life feels empty? What if I lose my comfort? This fear is natural. But let me tell you the truth. There is nothing to lose. Because food was never truly giving you comfort to begin with. It was stealing your comfort. It was stealing your energy. It was stealing your confidence. When you quit, you don't lose. You gain. You gain freedom. You gain health. You gain pride. You gain the ability to sit with your feelings and realize they don't have to scare you. They don't have to control you. Imagine coming home from a stressful day, and instead of numbing yourself with food, you sit down, breathe, maybe journal, maybe walk, maybe call a friend. Imagine actually solving the stress, not burying it under sugar. That's not deprivation, that's elevation. Here's another real story. A woman once told me she thought she needed chips every night to unwind. But when she quit, she discovered something incredible. The chips weren't what relaxed her, it was the act of stopping, sitting down, and giving herself permission to rest. Once she understood that, she replaced chips with a warm cup of tea and a book she loved. And guess what? She relaxed more deeply than ever before, without the bloating, without the guilt. That's the secret. Food never gave you what you were seeking. It was the pause. It was the break. It was the comfort of allowing yourself a moment. You can still have that moment. You just don't need junk food to get there. Now let's talk about hunger again. Most people have forgotten what hunger feels like. We confuse craving with hunger. We confuse habit with hunger. We confuse emotion with hunger. But true hunger, it's clean, it's clean. It's a gentle signal from the body saying, I need fuel. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand chocolate or chips specifically. It just says, feed me something nourishing. When you relearn how to listen to that signal, you reconnect with your body in a profound way. Eating becomes joyful again. Food becomes satisfying again. And you realize you need much less than you thought. This is not about rules. It's not about strict diets or punishing yourself. It's about awareness. It's about listening. It's about freedom. So here's the invitation. From today forward, begin to question every craving. Ask yourself, is this hunger or is this emotion? If it's hunger, honor it with real food. If it's emotion, honor it with real care, not fake comfort. Because you deserve more than fake comfort. You deserve real joy, real peace, real vitality. And let me say this clearly, you can do this, not because you're stronger than cravings, not because you have more willpower than the average person, but because the craving itself is an illusion. Once you see it, you don't have to fight it. You just walk away from it. Freedom doesn't come from battling harder. Freedom comes from realizing there's no battle at all. Now imagine, for a moment, what your life looks like when emotional eating is no longer part of it. Picture yourself walking through the grocery store, passing by the candy aisle and feeling nothing, not resisting, not battling, just free. You walk past it the way you walk past motor oil if you don't own a car. It's irrelevant. Imagine opening your fridge late at night after a stressful day. Instead of hunting for snacks, you simply take a deep breath, grab a glass of water, and head to bed. The thought of I need food to relax doesn't even enter your mind because you know now it was never true. Picture waking up with energy, not regret. Picture enjoying your meals fully, eating until satisfied, and moving on without guilt. No mental tug-of-war, no shame spiral, just peace. That is not a fantasy. That is not reserved for a select few. That freedom is waiting for you. And here's the truth. Every single time you see through the illusion, you weaken it. Every time you pause and say, this isn't hunger, this is stress, you take back your power. Every time you choose real care instead of fake comfort, you step into freedom. Yes, it will feel strange at first. Any new way of living does, but with every choice, your confidence grows, and eventually it doesn't feel like effort at all. It feels like coming home. So let me ask you, how much longer will you let food control your emotions? How much longer will you let cravings dictate your choices? How much longer will you keep believing the lie that comfort comes in a package or a wrapper? You don't need to fight harder. You don't need to shame yourself into change. You simply need to open your eyes, see the craving for what it is, a trick, a phantom, a shadow, and shadows lose their power the moment you shine light on them. Remember this, you are not weak. You are not broken. You are not doomed to struggle with food forever. The fact that you're listening to this right now means a part of you already knows you're capable of more. You're ready for more. And more is waiting for you. More freedom, more energy, more self-respect, more joy. When you step out of the emotional eating trap, you don't just change your diet, you change your life. You reclaim your evenings, your mornings, your confidence, your relationships. Because when you're no longer weighed down by guilt, you show up in the world with clarity and strength. Think of the ripple effect. When you're free, your children see it. They learn a new pattern. They grow up without the same chains. When you're free, your partner feels it. They see a version of you that's alive, vibrant, present. When you're free, your co-workers feel it. You become sharper, more focused, more effective. Your freedom inspires others. It creates permission. It shows what's possible. This is not just about food. This is about reclaiming your life. So here's my challenge to you. Today, decide that you are done. Done with the lies, done with the guilt, done with letting food be your escape. You don't need a last binge. You don't need one more farewell feast, because there is nothing to say goodbye to. You're not losing anything, you're gaining everything. Right now, you stand at a doorway. On one side is the life you've always known. Cycles of cravings, eating, regret, repeat. On the other side is freedom, peace, energy, joy. The door is wide open. No lock, no chains, just a choice. Will you step through it? Here's what you'll find when you do. You'll find that real comfort comes not from numbing your feelings, but from facing them and realizing they aren't as scary as you thought. You'll find that joy comes not from sugar, but from moments of connection, laughter, love, growth. You'll find that strength comes not from willpower, but from clarity. And you'll find that life tastes so much sweeter when food is food again, nothing more, nothing less. So as we close, let me leave you with this truth. You are already free. The craving is an illusion. The cage was never locked. The only step left is to walk out. Do it boldly. Do it with pride. Do it because you deserve it. And when you do, when you take that step into freedom, you'll realize something profound. It was never about food at all. It was about you, your strength, your resilience, your capacity to see clearly and choose better. And that, my friend, is the greatest victory you will ever taste. So now the question is, what will you do with this freedom? Don't just listen and move on. Take action. Today. Right now. Start with one choice. One meal. One moment where you decide, I don't need food to handle this emotion. I've got this. That one small victory is proof that change is already happening. And don't keep this journey to yourself. Share it. Tell a friend. Inspire someone else who's struggling. When you speak it aloud, you strengthen your own commitment and you give hope to others. Come back to this message whenever you feel weak. Let these words remind you. You are free, you are strong, and you are capable of so much more than you've believed. Make today the day you break the cycle. Make today the day you step fully into freedom. Because life is too short to spend it trapped. You've got bigger things to do, greater moments to live, and brighter joy waiting on the other side. So take a deep breath, stand tall, and step boldly into the life you deserve. Freedom is yours. Now claim it.